I hadn't had a date in years, and no matter how hip and expensive my black semi-rimless designer glasses were, they couldn't hide my bloodshot eyes. No matter how many years ago I'd shaved my increasingly gray head bald, I was still sporting a salt and pepper mustache and goatee. They no longer looked cool, I decided. They just made me look like a guy trying too hard to hold on to his youth. Unable to take any more of myself, I shifted focus and tried to make sense of the surreal scene out my window. From our vantage point, southeast of the capital, I could see squadrons of F-15s and F-16s streaking across the skies of Amman, dropping their ordnance on the ISIS forces below. I watched the spectacular explosions that ensued and could even feel the impact ripple through my body. I quickly snapped some photos on my iPhone and then took a shot of the king flying the Black Hawk before anyone could tell me not to. My thoughts shifted back to the president. Where was he? Were he and his security detail under fire? Were they in immediate and overwhelming danger? Or was the Secret Service just lying low, keeping their charge out of sight and off the air until they had more confidence they could truly get him to safety? Alan's refusal to run my story stunned me. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became. After all these years, after who knew how many stories, many of them exclusives, how could he not trust me now? Did he really think I would run with such a provocative story as the President of the United States being missing in the middle of a coup attempt unless I was absolutely certain? I didn't mind if he added caveats to the story, hedged the language a bit to make it clear this was a fast-developing story and the situation could change at any moment. To the contrary, that was undoubtedly the right thing to do. But he knew I was in the eye of the storm. He knew I was with the highest-ranking leaders in Jordan who were still breathing and fully conscious. Where did he think I was getting this information? The whole thing enraged me. I felt powerless and cut off. Until I looked down at the iPhone in my hands, I realized we were flying low enough that I still had cell coverage. And just then, it occurred to me that I didn't need to wait for Alan MacDonald or the brass at the Gray Lady to get this story out. I could do it myself. A soldier offered me a bottle of water, but I waved it off. Instead, opening my Twitter app, I began typing and sending dispatches, 140 characters at a time. Exclusive. President of the United States missing. After ISIS attacks in Amman, Air Force One took off without POTUS on board. Hashtag Amman crisis. Exclusive. Where is POTUS? I saw Secret Service whisk him away from Palace, heading for Amman Airport, but he never arrived. Hashtag Amman crisis. Exclusive. Massive search for POTUS underway using Jordanian military, U.S. Secret Service, U.S. military assets. Hashtag Amman crisis. Over the next few minutes, I sent 19 tweets. In many ways, I realized, the story read more dramatically over Twitter than it might on the Times homepage. This was the epitome of a breaking news story. Raw, dramatic, unfiltered, fast-moving. And in this case, exclusive. If Alan and the brass in Manhattan wanted to skip the biggest story of our time, they could be my guest. But I had news, and I was going to share it with the world. After getting out the core of the story, I then sent 3 more tweets using some cautionary language. I made it clear this was a fluid situation. I stressed my hope that additional reporting from other journalists and disclosures from U.S. government officials themselves would shed light on the situation. But in less than 5 minutes, the story was out there. Now all I could do was wait. I'd never broken a story via Twitter before. It wasn't my style. In my heart, I guess I was old school. I believed in filing dispatches and having editors clean them up and make their own decisions about what and when to publish. It wasn't just safer for readers, and for me. It wasn't just the way things had been done forever in the world of responsible journalism. I genuinely believed it was the right approach. It's certainly the way my grandfather operated, and I held him in the highest esteem. Back in the day, back when Andrew Bradley A.B. Collins was writing for the Associated Press in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, he worked his craft by the book. He wrote up his stories on old